Hey, you're watching The Presser. I'm Jenny here with Berry. Hey, this is the last college football weekend before we see those first rankings by the College Football Selection Committee. You had a chance to sit in on some mock selections a couple weeks ago. Any guesses where this first selection, where this first rankings are headed? I mean, we can't know obviously what happens this weekend, but if everything goes as expected, what do you think is going to happen?
Well, I mean, the couple of key teams to look at and keep your eye on to see which way this committee might eventually go is Ohio State and Baylor.
Okay.
Because Ohio State and Baylor do not have great resumes right now. Baylor's played virtually no one. They played 2 road games, Kansas and SMU. Neutral,
which might as well have been home games, probably.
Home win over West Virginia, neutral site win over Texas Tech. Those 2 games are the totality of the resume for Baylor. If you see Baylor in the top 4, what the committee is saying is we endorse dominance no matter who you're playing.
Right.
We're not really looking at the quality of your competition. And the same to a lesser extent with Ohio State, which is yet to play Michigan, which is yet to play Michigan State, which is yet to play one of the decent teams in the Big Ten West, be it Iowa or Wisconsin or Northwestern.
Yeah.
So the best win for the Buckeyes, I guess, is at Virginia Tech, and Virginia Tech has a losing record now. So not a good resume. If Ohio State and Baylor are in that top 4, then I think the committee is sort of shortchanging its own stance on resume. Clemson's an excellent example. Yeah. Will Clemson be ahead of Baylor? Some people say yes, some people say no. Clemson, a very good resume. Only loss for Notre Dame is to Clemson. Clemson routed Miami the other day down in Florida, 58-0.
Worst loss in Miami history.
That's the sort. To me, that's the one I'm going to be looking at. Is Clemson versus the likes of Baylor and Ohio State.
My guess is Clemson's higher than Baylor.
They should
for sure.
They should be.
Okay, and then I think it's going to be interesting to see how week to week it goes, because that was the thing last year that took some getting used to with this committee. Is I think a lot of times you see those polls, whether it be the AP poll, the coaches poll, everything is based off last week. To some extent, you know, if team number 1 wins, they stay number 1. If team number 2 wins, they stay number 2. You don't see a lot of movement unless a team loses. But this committee, the College Football Selection Committee, Barry, and I mean, I'm sure they talked about this. It really is a clean slate every week. So if Baylor, when they start playing the really crux of their schedule in the Big 12. How quickly could they move up if they show that dominance, continue to show that dominance? It's going to be really interesting to see, because I'm like you. Baylor hasn't played anybody. I mean, they just 60-plus points. Okay, it's impressive, but who are you playing? They've played nobody, and I wonder how is the same equation going to mix with Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State obviously sitting undefeated, likely to be after this week. Have they played a quality enough schedule to be one of those teams that maybe gets a top 10 ranking? I don't know. What's your gut say after going through that mock selection?
I doubt that if OSU beats Tech, I doubt they still crack the top 10 this week.
Okay.
There's a lot of teams out there with some really good resumes and have played quality teams. People like Stanford has 1 loss, but lots of quality wins.
Right.
Alabama, same way. So it's going to be tough to get into that top 10 this first ranking, but then Oklahoma State would play TCU, and if beat the Horned Frogs, then you're in probably in the top 5 at that point. So a key, I think, also is to look at the mid-majors.
Okay.
Temple plays Notre Dame on Saturday. Temple's unbeaten and has already got a couple of decent wins. Beat East Carolina, beat Penn State. If Temple beats Notre Dame, you could have Memphis and Temple, both unbeaten, mid-majors, with quality wins. I mean, Memphis beat Ole Miss. Temple would have beaten Notre Dame. And all of a sudden, they're starting to take slots in the top 10. And then they start playing each other, a little bit like the Big 12. The American schedule is backloaded, and they can start padding the resume. Whoever emerges out of the American is not out of the equation for one of the berths. So that's something to keep an eye on.
You know, something else I'll be interested in is, you know, last year the 4 that made it, there was only 1 undefeated. Now it was Florida State, a named team, but they obviously did not, they didn't show themselves as a team that was worthy of those other 3. I wonder if we could possibly see a Power 5 team be undefeated and not get in this year, because like you say, there's some really good teams out there with already a loss. How does that play out? A lot of football left. I mean, my gosh, we're talking here with so much football left, but still, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, I don't think that could happen this year. Clemson's win over Notre Dame probably negated that because that boosts the ACC. Enough good teams in the Pac-12 and the Big 12 that an unbeaten team from there will have beaten enough good teams, I think, to be safely in. And if you kept an unbeaten SEC or an unbeaten Big 10 team out of the playoff, then they would scrap the system before the games were played, and we'd have to start all over.
All right. Hey, be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.